Hello there, folks, and welcome to Dave Digs History. By now you should know, I'm Dave. Thank you all for being here. I hope you are surviving the August heat better than I am. Let's see. What were we talking about last time? Seems to me I remember we sort of ended on a bit of a cliffhanger as to the ending of the war. Let me look at my notes and see just where we did leave off. According to the timeline, which is where we started the last episode, what happened in 1776 and 77 and 78, so forth and so on, until we got to 1781, October, General Cornwallis, the British General Cornwallis, surrenders his army in Yorktown, Virginia. They go home, and then there's a 2-year interval until 1783 when the Treaty of Paris is signed. And you may remember my mentioning how I was taught this in school, and maybe you were taught the same thing. October 1781, Cornwallis surrenders. 1783, Treaty of Paris is signed, the war is over. There's not quite 2 years of intervening time. What about that? Well, the way I was taught when I was in school, Cornwallis surrenders, Treaty of Paris, pretty much, if anything happened in between, no one ever told us that in school. Is that the way you learned it? Please let us know down below. I'd like to think that somebody, somewhere, was taught differently. But let's get into the reality of it. October 1781, Cornwallis surrenders. Is the war actually over? Well, look at it this way. Are there still barns left to burn? How about houses? Yes. How about entire towns left to burn to the ground? Yes. Room for another massacre or two? Yes. Are there still people left to die from shootings, stabbings, bayonettings, hangings, starvation? Yes. So is it over? No. Perhaps the intensity is different, but the actual outcomes, they're still the same. People are still being killed, barns and etc. are still being burned. Cattle is still being taken for, they're being appropriated, which is a nice way of saying they get stolen. Let's look at the timeline. What did happen between surrender at Yorktown, Treaty of Paris? Anything? Well, yes. Sure, there was. October 1781, Cornwallis surrenders. March of 82, the Nutton massacre happens in Ohio. Yes, there's still plenty of massacres that could happen. That one did in Ohio. Ohio not being the state, just the Ohio Territory, as it was termed at the time, although officially it was not yet a territory. It's the same month, Toms River, New Jersey. Any folks out there from Toms River, New Jersey? Is put to the torch and burned. There's plenty of other towns left to be burned. We're not done yet. So yes, things are happening between Yorktown and the treaty. Almost none of it good. But supposedly, with the Treaty of Paris, everything's going to be fine. The war will, at that point, be over. Well, let's see. Negotiations started on the treaty pretty much not too long after the surrender at Yorktown. They continued on to 1783. That reminded me of a little piece of history called the Korean War. Now, what does the Korean War have to do, if at all, with America's Revolution? There are some similarities in the way the negotiations for the termination of hostilities occurred. June 1950, the war in Korea breaks out. North Korea invades South Korea. The next year, 1951, it was July. So it's a year and a month into the war, talks finally start. They continue on for about 2 more years, till 1953 in July, pretty much 2 years exactly. What happens in the meantime? Is this war still going on? Are there still hills left to take? Yes. Towns to burn? Yes. Etc., etc. Yes, yes, and yes. The war continues on pretty much everywhere except for the few acres, dozens or hundreds of acres, where the peace talks are going on for a long time. But while they're going on, we're still talking Korean War now, the dictum, fight, fight, talk, talk, fight, fight, talk, talk, is in place. That comes from Mao Zedong, the Communist Party chairman and leader of Communist China, who was the leader in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, a little ways into the 70s. While talking is still going on until some signatures are at the bottom of a page, the war still goes on as well. An armistice was signed in 1953. It's not exactly a peace treaty, and some of you, if you've been following the news for the past several years, a lot of years, know that technically speaking the armistice is just a cessation of hostilities, but in the absence of a peace treaty, there is, technically speaking, no peace. You may have heard this. Well, there's been a development. It occurred not that long ago, 2023. North Korea declared the armistice null and void. So technically, legally, we're still at war until a final peace is signed, whenever that may be. I'm also reminded of the way the peace talks were handled during the Vietnam War. 1968 occurred the Tet Offensive in South Vietnam. Some of you may remember it, perhaps from first-hand experience, and peace talks started shortly thereafter. This is 1968. 1973, the talks finally end. What's happening in between? Well, for quite some time, there is a major discussion and problem with the shape of the negotiating tables. One side wanted them rectangular, the other side wanted them round. Debate, 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 debate. In other words, fight, fight, talk, talk. Towns are still being burned, people are still being killed, etc., etc. Finally, there was a compromise. They'll use both sizes. Now, getting back to our time period, the revolution, finally, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris is signed, and therefore, there's peace. All those depredations that occurred in between Cornwallis' surrender, the Treaty of Paris, they're over with. Right? No. It was a treaty, yes. The peace was partial in substance. There's still a great deal of unfinished business, no matter what the treaty says, that has to be taken care of. And when that happens, whatever century that's going to happen in, perhaps maybe there'll be peace. When might that happen? If I carry this channel through, using real time with a 250-year advance on it, when does peace occur, and how old am I going to be? I'll never see it. I guess we'll have to discuss it before that time, and discuss it we will. For the moment, that's all I have. Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, questions and comments, leave them below. Sure, people would like to see them. If you have any experience in your classroom history over Yorktown and Treaty of Paris, please let that be known down below. And until such time as we meet again, I have the honor to remain your most respectful and obedient servant, Dave Diggs, coming to you once again from a long time ago. Stay cool.